I'm Khary Frazier, founder of Detroit is Different. I'd like to thank you for checking out and tuning in to the 2023 State of Black Detroit. Who's afraid of a Black Detroit? This is an event run through Detroit is Different. Detroit is Different is a community group. It's also a community media hub, welcoming podcasts, video, and so much more. Even our wonderful events throughout the year, the Collard Green Cook-Off, the My Natural Hair Show, and so many other things. Things like this here. This collaboration is a collaboration between Detroit is Different and Mama Akua House, community movement builders, but more so an extension of the friendship, bond, and relationship between myself and Yusef Bunchy Shakur. I should say Dr. Yusef Bunchy Shakur. We were actually the ones in 2009 that did the very last event at the Renaissance Club atop the Renaissance Center. It was Kwanzaa at the Renaissance. And since then, we've done so many more things, so many other things. So we welcome you to meet so many of the other people that support community and a lot of the works connected to Detroit is Different, but connected to stronger works, not just in Detroit, not just in Michigan, even in the nation and even internationally. This will be a wonderful event to set the tone for you all to get practical solutions in ways that we're already engaging. Things that we've witnessed. And when we say who's afraid of a Black Detroit, it's more so dealing with everything we've dealt with, but ways we've overcome it. You're gonna get some different perspectives, but more so, you're gonna get what I call knowledge, AKA in the streets, the game on what you need to do. So with this, I want you to sit back and know it'll be powerful. If you like to give and get in a last minute donation for 2023 so you can get back some more money and support what we're doing, please make that donation to Detroit is Different Community Group, 501c3. This is going to be fun, and it's going to already start off with somebody that's so connected to community that you may not know, but I definitely know you know he's an entertainer. Let's kick this off. State of Black Detroit 2023. Let's keep this moving. Peace. Copyright, soldiers got my back. Plan in effect that we fighting to the death. Got my black fist stuck, my black fist stuck. Got my black fist stuck, my black fist stuck. We already got them. Caught them when they watching. Thinking we ain't real, yo, the whole team shot them. Got my black fist stuck, my black fist stuck. Got my black fist stuck, my black fist stuck.
Boy, foolish, and it's the state of Black Detroit. Y'all better listen up.
All right, we are doing this again for a third time. Khary Frazier with
Dr. Yusef Bunchy Shakur.
All right, now the doctor, we about to be kicking you off with another State of Black Detroit. And this time we talking about who's afraid of a Black Detroit. Yusef, what's going on?
Yeah, we welcome everybody to come out to this third edition of State of Black Detroit, asking this phenomenal question: who is afraid of a Black Detroit?
A Black Detroit. So this is going to have other guests this time. We already heard what the people said. Y'all want more than just my voice or his voice, so we're going to give you more of the people. But also, you about to get Dr. Shakur sharing about this. December 30th at 12 p.m. As always, we talking State of Black Detroit. Welcome for everybody, and it's streamed online. Make sure you come out. What you gonna give them, Yusef, when you talk about this?
We're gonna give them that authenticity. We're gonna give them something that's gonna be thought-provoking. And being thought-provoking, the question, who is afraid of a Black Detroit? And we're gonna answer that question on December 30th at the Mama Akua Community House, presented by Detroit is Different. So come check us out.
Always. Peace. All right. All right. Welcome to State of Black Detroit. Welcome to State of Black Detroit 2023. We know the people online are watching, and we know Facebook having its errors, or I should say Meta or whatever, but tune in through YouTube, Thank you so much for everybody that helped make this possible. I know y'all just tapped in with, as I say, one of the people that's the funniest people in Detroit, but also really connected to a lot of what is Black empowerment. That's my man Foolish. And just the connection to Detroit is different is always, as I say, it is the connection of what is culture, what is creativity, what is empowerment, and definitely community. So those are the things that connect. So this is an event that I've done for a while with comrade in mind, as y'all saw, even in the clip, like going back to 2009. Myself and Yusef Shakur have done things even before then, but the growth of Dr. Yusef Bunchy Shakur, one, and myself is taking on a metamorphosis over the years. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to the doctor. Brother Shakur, how are you doing today, my brother?
I'm good. What up, though?
What up? What up? All right. So with this being said, this year, this is the third time out. Before we even get to the questions and everything, what do you think is like pressing this year? Just the coming together the third year. We've talked about leadership. I mean, the first time we did this, it was like people with masks on and everything. And I was like, yo, you want to do like a live stream? You know what I'm saying? And that's how it came about. What's happening this year?
Well, we're being out-organized, outworked. I think the pressing issues of our neighborhoods, they're under siege, they're attacked. I think misleadership is at its all-time high. Folks ain't selling out, they buying in.
Not selling out, they buying in. So with that, let's just jump right into it, man. Let's jump right into it. So we're going to talk. You're talking about values and virtues. This was a topic we had for a minute. Who's afraid of a Black Detroit? So from it, in the marketing mind, it's provocative. It'll get people's attention. But beyond what's provocative and getting people's attention, we really wanted to more so like press and provide people substantive. We got the notes. Mama Akua, especially. Mama Akua was like, you need to have more sisters involved. You need to give people practical solutions. My dad was like, okay, how do we do this? How we do this? So this is where we at. We're going to give some different questions and practical solutions. Now, the questions that Yusef has, we're starting off. What values and virtues have you found most beneficial for you personally to work on behalf of empowering the Black community?
I mean, I think first and foremost, transformation. Like people say a lot of things about me. I might cut somebody out. I'm able to fight if it comes to it, but very few people talk about my commitment to transformation. I would not be who I am today without my commitment to transformation, and that is a personal commitment. The personal commitment to unlearning what I know, to learn what I don't know. I didn't arrive here just yesterday. I didn't fall from the sky. I didn't just threw the dirt off of me. It took work, but the work required for me to do some reading, read, and to be able to see even though how dark it may look in my community, I see the light. I see the light because I understand where we come from. I know the history. That it's part of my lived experience, but it's also part of the Black experience. So that value there teaches me to value people over issues. Value people over issues. When I began to garner some level of social prestige in Detroit and across the country, I could have done what I'm doing here anywhere, but it was a commitment to do it here in a dying community, a community that's left for dead, so to speak. And I don't do it as Yusef Bunchy Shakur. I do it as the son of Ava Joe. I do it as the grandson of Walter. I do it as a person that experienced the Crockett store, Mrs. Penny's, who ran Penny's liquor store, P&J's. I mean, all these things, or Mrs. White's, who shaped me as a young person, but as a result of the ignorance that I was functioning in, didn't allow me to value. And there's nothing wrong with being ignorant. Ignorant only means not to know. But when you make ignorance a way of life, which I did as a result as a gang member, and then the ability to come back, with having knowledge of self, education, and valuing people over personalities.
All right, you talked about valuing people over personalities. That is powerful and substantive. That you can connect that message. That I'm hoping that people are taking notes. I'm sure some comments going because I'm seeing the stream go up and more people are watching, which we appreciate that. Which we definitely appreciate that. The second question that we have: how have you enhanced your skills and knowledge to thrive personally when engaging within our community?
First, being willing to again learn from the people. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, like, revolutionary, nationalists, activists, organizers, advocates, whatever we call ourselves, there's a bit of arrogance that come with it. I repeat, there's a bit of arrogance that come with it because when you know something that someone else knows, you're more familiar with it. But in reality, you got to willing to humble yourself and learn from the people, learn from those who are living it every day. Folks didn't matter because, or it didn't matter to folks that I wrote a book. It didn't matter to folks to how passionate I was. It mattered when I was able to connect with them, and by connecting with them, was able to enhance me, enhance my knowledge, enhance my skill set, and made me a better leader, made me a better human being. Because at the end of the day, people can't connect with something that doesn't connect with them. And to connect with them, you have to be willing to just give a fuck. And giving a fuck meaning meeting them where they're at. And unfortunately, a lot of the organizing work need to be done in our neighborhoods. A lot of us don't know how to do that, and we're not open and honest and transparent enough to say that. And don't just call on Yusef just because at the last minute you need to get in a neighborhood like Zone 8, Linwood, Dexter, or Mac. Like, we need to be ahead of the game talking. So enhancing myself was going back to school, and going back to school was personal. And I worked my way up from community college to earn my PhD, and that's what learned from my mother. Learned how to commit myself to aspire to be better, but also put myself in a learning environment. And that learning environment having very difficult, challenging, but encouraging conversation. I'm at my best when I'm learning, and that's why I went back to school and still will be in school for the rest of my life.
All right. You talk about school and education and growth, that knowledge base. We've definitely had many discussions about what that means and our different viewpoints, especially being that when you talk about the zone and being in this pocket, me being a Northwestern grad, actually for a while, I was the chair of the Alumni Association of Northwestern, and you being right here in the pocket of Northwestern, but taking full advantage after the fact, similar to me, seeing what opportunities can be presented from that knowledge base you can get from school, but also knowing how to utilize it. That's powerful. Dr. Bunchy Yusef Shakur. So let's stop right there. The PhD, what was your PhD about? What was the passion for the pursuit? How did you connect? And I know that's different than some of the questions we got listed, but I definitely want to go there and have the people learn and connect with that.
Thanks for that question. Went to Union Institute University online, and I had opportunities to explore other schools, but I chose Union because of the track was social justice and political public policy. Social justice, I could do that in my sleep, but the ability to do that along with public policy, I thought was intriguing, and it was not necessarily my strong suit. I mean, I had taken some public policy classes at the School of Social Work at University of Michigan, some other things, but being able to really dive into it and challenging myself, I already went in pretty much knowing what I wanted to write about, which was using my lived experience and talking about the dynamics related to Black men and Black boys. But the more I got into the subject and seeing how the subject was addressed, I didn't want to contribute to the further divide between Black men and Black women, Black boys and Black girls. And again, I'm always up for a challenge. And as many of you know, I lost my mother January 24th for 2022. And I was already shifting towards my topic, looking at my mother through my lived experience. And because the qualitative analysis I use is scholarly personal narrative and autoethnography. So saying my lived experience is the research data that I can use. And so overstanding like my oppression didn't start with me as a black boy or as a black man, nor did it start with when my father abandoned us for whatever reason. My oppression started with my mother being a teenage girl, giving birth to me through political mess where my grandparent actually was trying to encourage my mother to give abortion for whatever reason, and living in a deindustrialized Detroit, which changed the total landscape of Detroit, and being able to examine those dynamics and a single black mother, right? And we talk about single motherhood, and we talk about it as this detriment, as this negative thing. And for me, being able to flip it, I mean, there's some negative aspect, and the negative aspect is result of the society that condemns and has undermined and created a caste system of black women, and the black children are being born in that. And as a result of me and my mother and finding the hope and aspirations for all that I am and all I can be is a direct result of my mother. So dedicating my research to that speaks to the phenomena of my mother and her ability to raise a black boy in what I call the third hoods.
All right, and now we're going to get right into those fear-based questions, which those fear-based questions, let's see, as I'm bouncing through my form, but the fear-based questions kind of go straight to this. What are some unforeseen challenges you faced as you've worked personally to empower the black community?
I think the term of like working unity, I think is overrated, and I think there's more about uniformity. And I've said this multiple times on this show. We focus on like-minded people, and we say it all the time, like, "Hey, I'm trying to unite with like-minded people," and that's really bullshit. Because like you can like me today, I can like you tomorrow, but not like each other the day after. It was really about like values, and like values trump like-minded people. Because again, if our values are centered in our ability to work together, will be around values. And there's so much that happens in this society, in this world, between black men, black women, and black on black, that it puts us at odds, and we're never really analyzing our values. And as a result, our fear of who we are begins to take over. And when I mean a fear of who we are, I think if we ask everybody in this room what it means to be black, we'll get a different definition. But then the reality is, how many of us really have examined the black experience? I may have only went this far, the next person went that far. And so it's very important, like we're bringing a breadth of knowledge that has the testitude of not me just trying to like a pastor who just reading this excerpts out of the Bible to get you to buy into his or her thing. And I think looking at ourselves, we see those challenges because they're there, but we have the ability to overcome it because it's in our past. Like we've overcome some of the most phenomenal things. Like I think for our generation, like overcoming crack cocaine and still seeing the residue of it in our community today, where we see gentrification and de-investment at its highest level. The question is how we're pulling our resource, and our greatest resources is our ability to love each other and work together. Again, working together doesn't mean that we have to be friends, drinking partners, and things of that nature. No, working together around a common goal, a common agenda. And I think again, our ability to see that through creates fear. And if we're honest and vulnerable with ourselves, and there's nothing wrong with having fear. Every human being experiences that, especially in a city such as Detroit. Like I go to sleep every night wrestling the question: how did the hell did Duggan become the mayor? Not once, but twice, but 3 times, 4 times. Possibly a 5th time they run again. Right? How did that happen? And the city is predominantly black with so many, black excellent, black blinds, black this and black that, like on our watch. And the next generation has to look at that. That's on us.
It's so unique because in that answer, you provided like all the next questions of how you dealt with the challenges and what you've learned from the challenges. But I do want you to give like that directly a little bit to close out before we get into the next person presenting on Black organizing. What did you learn And how are you applying that?
I mean, what I learned is like all of us, it's overwhelming. And I know for myself, some days I don't want to do shit. I just want to go home and chill with my two big ass dogs, who my babies. But reality, we got to get up and fight. But then I look at the landscape. Who am I fighting with? Okay. When you and I get in the trenches, and I truly believe that you got my back. You truly believe I got your back. Like those are things that I'm trying to get better at. I've had much success in what I've done, but I've made many mistakes too. And I could tell you all the great things I've done as an individual, but that don't mean shit in the grand scheme of things, because individual can't free a people. Only a collective can do that. And that's what I'm trying to figure out and want to contribute. That's, I'm 50 years old, so my best days is behind me, but I got some great days in front of me. And those great days are contributing and determining how to pull that cadre, that core group of individuals who's willing to fight when again, when you think of Nat Turner, when everybody told him, no, man, we can't do it, he still kept doing it. Harry Tubman, hey, no, you can't do it, but she kept doing it. Like, where is that spirit? And I think we possess it, but how do we put it together? Like, I'm just one person, and we're all one person. But if we come together with a multitude of different people that can be able to achieve what we want to achieve for the greater good.
Thank you so much, Yusef. And as you all see, definitely the stream is going, and even the space, like we're bustling with people now. Like I'm seeing everybody come in. We're gonna get some seating upstairs, and Yusef's gonna help with that. Yeah. And this is powerful. As the next person that's going to present, I actually met through Yusef in that collective. Thank you so much, Yusef. This person, a lineage when it comes to Black empowerment. And then also, the sister is just amazing. And talk about like chilling with dogs. I think she may have you beat when it comes to the K9 crew. But more than that, just entrenched with the people, always with elders, and in different ways, organizing across the globe. So when it came to asking Black organizing, I couldn't think of anybody better and Carolyn Baker. Carolyn, come on up to the stage. Carolyn, come on up to the stage to speak on this from General Baker Institute. So let's see, as Carolyn makes the way to the stage, if you all don't know, make sure you check out where Baker Institute is. Baker Institute is right there in the heart, what used to be the Mays Printing Building. And it's definitely one of those things where I think they work in our chairs and seating. As y'all see, it feels like an old school rally, damn near where we organizing right now. And then the wooden panels, the design of Mama Akua House is very aesthetically connected, as you see, So right now we're going to get Carolyn over to Cam and make sure that everything's in panel. And then we're going to get rocking and rolling as we have the questions for Carolyn too. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure you can give to Detroit is Different. Get tax deduction before the end of the year, support as we put this stuff together and different things and whatnot. So without any further to do, we about to jump into these questions. Carolyn, how you feeling today?
I'm shocked y'all got me on the mic. I'm usually behind the scenes, but I'm good. I'm glad to be here with all y'all.
All right. So we're going to go to slide 4 for a second. Let's go to the slides for a second just to show people the Black organizing. And then we're going to get to some of your questions right now. So the first question we have is, what strategies have you found most effective for organizing within the Black community?
It's interesting because Yusef said a lot of kind of what we try to do. We try to meet people where they are. We are located in the old Mays Printing Company, if folks don't know. That's on Livernois next to Uptown Barbecue, and next to the Black-owned Lawnmower Company. And so, yeah, we're babies when I say to organizing as far as General Baker Institute as a name. But as far as organizing as a whole, we pull on the coattails of my mom with welfare rights organizing, and also her and my dad coming out of, with Baba Charles is in here somewhere, with the League of Revolutionary Black Workers and Uhuru, and just a long time organizing. So that's the lineage we come out of, but we're still grounded in trying to meet people where they are. And so what that looks like for us is we can have people walk in who say, I can't stand Black women who have dreads, who wear baseball caps with a D on it. And my job is not to take that personal. My job is to understand that something outside of these walls of the General Baker Institute have those folks thinking that way and feeling that way. And so just not taking things personal. It sounds easy, but it's not. And always remembering, people are dealing with just trying to survive. And just because they haven't read what you read or had the experience you have doesn't mean they're not as smart as you, can't navigate like you, and don't have something to offer. And not try to bog anyone down in ideology. That's another thing. Some of the best organizers are folks who are just out here trying to survive, not the so-called proclaimed organizers. And so just being grounded and remembering that I can see y'all a little bit over there. So if I'm looking this way, it's because there's not so many lights over this way.
Hilarious. All right. So that brings us to the next question. Tell a story of where you witnessed this and where it still impacts. And you talked about an example, but what's the story? As one of the things that was definitely asked for, it's like, people always talking about this Black stuff. People always talking about this Black stuff. When do we do the Black stuff? So can you please give a story where that connected?
Well, yeah, so our space is ran by majority Black women and Black femmes. And so a couple of stories and something I learned, there's anti-Blackness out there we all know of, and there's also anti-Black woman and Black femme. And so I say that to say is we have folks come in the building all the time looking for the owners. We greet them at the door, and they always say to us, well, I think we had a couple inspectors come in too. It's like, well, when the owner comes, let them know that they need to fix this, this, and this. And we're just like, okay, sure, we sure will. We've had organizers, who supposedly are supposed to know better, that come in, don't speak. And we've had events where we've done with different organizations, and sometimes they'll have a white person sitting at the door with us to sign people in, and everybody comes to the white person. And they won't come over to us. And I'm just fine. I just be looking. Or they'll have questions about the building. And so they'll go to the person because I'm usually wearing sweats or running around doing 15,000 things. And so it'll be myself, my aunt, my mom, and then my sister, one of my sisters works for a college, and she comes and she's dressed up because she's been dressed for work all day. And they'll come to her and ask her a question because she's dressed a certain way. And so we see this all the time. Like I said, I have to always go back to don't take things personal, even though I be wanting to cuss them out every time. I had a car full of, I'm closing shop. Someone recommended them to come over and check out the space that I know personally. And it was a car full of Black women who pulled up and said, and I'm literally locking the door. They said, is the owner here? And I was just having a day. I was like, no, they are not here. They was like, well, do you have a number for them? I said, you know what? I sure don't. I really don't. And I continued to lock the door. The alarm went off. But, I was done for the day, had one of those days. But that is constant. And with that, not only that, with the anti-Black woman and femme, comes with that, we are expected to fix all the problems within the Black community. There's an issue, we get penalized for it. As a space, and this has happened recently, as a space, we've gotten penalized for things that have happened in the Black community, and we're supposed to come up with the answers and fix it. Like I said, we're young. We started during COVID. And so people get upset with us. I say this all the time, they can date Black brothers, they can have conversations with Black brothers, but they can't even come over and have a conversation with Black women, just a conversation. I'm not saying come date it, I'm just saying come have a conversation. And if that's a hard conversation, come have that hard conversation with us. We can't even get that respect. And so we're learning that, and the ways that we're trying to deal with that is we more recently just had a meeting trying to pull together Black women and Black films. We had one meeting, and it was with Mama Ra and Mama Neb, and we're trying to get we're going to gather other Miss Valerie, Mama Valerie. And so we have made a commitment that after New Year, we're going to try to do this more often, have a meeting place of Black women and Black films, so that it doesn't matter ideology, just how can we come together to have discussions, to deal with things, whether it's just our own healing, whether it's things in our community, how can we be resources to each other? So I know it's a lot of folks in here. Look out, because we're going to be giving you a call to join those meetings, and it doesn't always have to be there. We want to do this all around the city. But that's just coming out of that experience. That's something that we want to continue to do.
Definitely. As we get into, as we say, the fear questions, and it's empowering that we're connecting and building more. As we come back in crossing, as you say, just the work, it's a lot, and you just share so much in what you just shared that I believe echoes with many organizers. So now we get into the fear questions. What are some of the unforeseen challenges you faced as you work collectively to empower the Black community?
Yeah. So I did not know how strong, like this last thing I was talking about, anti-Black women, I didn't know how strong it was until got into this role. So just that, I'm wondering what else I'm going to learn throughout this process, because we're always learning. And as far as fear, it's more so like the people we meet we're in the Pilgrim Village area. The folks we meet over there, we're just losing out. So I know Yusef mentioned it earlier, we're losing out so bad. So the folks I see that are struggling to survive, whether it's addictions and stuff, just the fear. And also I deal a lot with elders. We were just looking yesterday, my aunt and my mom and I, we have a binder of obituaries that we just started collecting since we got the space. And these are mostly folks from the league who have just recently passed within us. And so the fear of receiving phone calls from elders who we haven't got a chance to record and to actually work with and get their stories and have more meeting with, just that fear of losing them, that fear of losing the other folks that are in the neighborhood, whether it be from addictions or whether it be from them being forced out. That's the constant fear of we're just losing our people. And we're not, I don't feel like we're catching up to that. You know what I'm saying? So we're losing them at great numbers. And we need to try to figure out how we can stop some of that. I know with the elders, it's inevitable, but as they get older, but yeah, just getting their stories. My dad left here before we could do a lot more recordings we wanted to do with him. So Mike Hamlin left here. I was out of town. I told him when I got back, we were gonna get together and record. Got back, he was gone. So that constant losing out on our elders and our history.
All right. And that definitely connects right to how do you deal with these challenges?
Yeah. So I know I met Khary. I've been telling Khary I need him to come over and help me, and Piper with our equipment. Yeah. That, and we have we want to record people. We are blessed to have folks come over all the time. So we're always trying to record. The elders have come, like Dan, Baba Dan Aldridge has been over there a couple of times, and they'll get to talking, and I'm like, what? I didn't even know that about the city. And so like just constantly keeping a recording going over there is one. Having intergenerational discussions as much as we can is another. And just, yeah, you're always going to be racing time. And so how can you best use your time while you still have it? Is what we're always trying to the commitment we're always trying to make. What is the best use of time with the little time that we do have? Yeah, that's it.
All right. And last, what have you learned and are learning from these challenges?
From all these challenges, well, what I'm learning from just this work that you're going to take some steps forward, and then there's going to be some things that push you back. And not being afraid of mistakes that you have made, because we have made several mistakes within the work that we have done. We're going to continue to make several more, but not letting those mistakes define us, and not trying, and learn from them, learn from the mistakes as though we learn from history, and try not to repeat those mistakes, and try not to repeat that history is one of the main things that I've learned. We can be very successful one minute and just have an off month the next, but that don't let us quit. Keep pushing forward. And you can't be all places at once. You can't be on every front of struggle, but if you have a collective, and if you are a part of a collective, then that gives you the ability to know what's happening on different fronts of struggle. And so also being grounded in that. Always, we have what Friends of GBI is what we try to call, where we just have meetings where we're just updating folks, because our success is only in everybody else's success. We try to be, we're not an organization membership like that. We try to be a tool for organizations, whether that's event space, whether that's printing, whether that's podcast equipment, if you know how to do it, because I don't know how to do it, whether that's books or education. We try to be a tool for other organizations. And we're not trying to be in any competition. And so that are some of the things that we learned, and also knowing wherever folks are located. We have some of this mapping that we're working on that shows who's in what area, what organizations are where. And we want to share that with other organizations going forward, and contact information for other organizations, so you can know the lay of the land and who do we have in different places. So always trying to be a collective force, and continue to understand that our work is not in competition with anyone else's. It's only a tool to try to help uplift others, individuals and organizations.
All right. With that being said, definitely empowering. I thank you so much. And when you go back and watch the stream, it's a lot of information just echoing a lot of what you're saying, and connecting. And that's definitely more that I need to be more aware of, as collaboratively building that bond between, obviously, I mean, it's the whole women, men, we're together. It makes sense. And Piper, as people know, like Trey is different. Me and Piper has been drilling, and I've been learning for so long, and Piper will be coming. But thank you so much, Carolyn, as we get right into more of that bond and that connection. We're talking family. And when it comes to family, this was one of the key things discussed, is like, if you look, most YouTube channels is probably talking about relationships and dating and God knows what, and black men, black women. But then that family, that center, when I think of the examples of people pouring into children and making that connection, I can't think of a better family, better example than the Larsosa family. Jason and Crystal have been just anchors in our community, people that have added so much. And within this is a blessing to have both of them present. I think that as we get this set up, you all will be wowed of what they've done, how they've done it, and how these connections were made over time. The bonds that have been true, and really that growth, and from that growth of pouring into each other, extending to family, and even further extended family through faith, community. If you ever go in their home, you'll be surprised just the essence that does exist. So without any further ado, our Sosa family, make your introduction.
What up, though? What's going on, Khary?
Hi, how are you?
How you feeling?
All right, all right. So within that introduction, we gonna get right into some of these questions. Because like I say, some of these things that connect with family. And people talk so much about the Black family, but then it's like, what are the examples? And a lot of examples that we see that are celebrities this year changes certain dynamics of what people think we're like, oh, that's relationship goals, quote unquote. This is really what I've seen substantively in community. Yeah, that's one. And it's other ones too. It's other ones too. Yeah, it's real. It's real.
Yeah.
What are the key values and virtues that help strengthen your family bond within the Black community?
I could just open this up. We have a mantra in our house. We call them a call and response. We ask the girls all the time. Our girls are right here in the audience with us. Girls, what's it about? The future. They always say in unison, it's about the future, because everything that we do, every decision that we make, it's in concentration of not just our daughters, not just their kids, but their kids' grandkids. So I would say that the driving principle is the future of us as a family, the future of our people. We envision Black America as a model of racial, economic, and other forms of social justice. And with Detroit being the largest majority Black city in the nation, with us being a model for what a leader and what racial and economic justice looks like. And we think that our family and other Black families play a critical role in that.
I agree. Yeah, so just to piggyback off of my husband, Jason, it's...
Love the way that sounds.
It's funny.
I do.
I know we'll get more into challenges and things like that as we go on. But, it's, raising 3 girls here in the city is, something that we acknowledge. We know that we're trying to have a strong family bond with one another. Mm-hmm. Our oldest is 17, our middle is 15, and the youngest is 7.
Yeah.
So, just on a day-to-day basis, we're constantly, talking to one another. We're constantly spending time with one another. We're trying to make sure that, we're all on one page, because like Jason said, we're trying to build our family bond, and it's about our future.
Yeah. I mean, and to like really, we would be remiss if we didn't mention this, to like make this vivid. So everything we do is about the future, and everything we do also is about Black people. And Black people as a moral leader, a global moral leader. I mean, everything that our girls do is about elevating the beauty and the brilliance of Black people, and Black girls in particular. They go collectively by the Hershey Kisses online. You also follow them. Shameless
plug.
Ahead,
they got over, follow my baby.
Yeah, they got over 250,000 followers on their channels, YouTube and Instagram, and everything they do is about uplifting us. So I mean, like, this is the driving principle. This is at the core of everything that we do, who we are as a people and who we are as a family.
So I definitely want to go for I want both responses, but Crystal, I know you can speak to this, as you even just kind of touched on this. Mm-hmm. How's your family fostered healthy relationships between one another, husband and wife, parents and children, sibling and sibling? Because that family collection is deeper than like it's sometimes spoke about like it's just like a unison that moves, kind of like community. Those bonds are bonds within each.
So I think that we've established, our roles, as my husband being, I like to say the leader of the household. I don't have a problem with that.
But if y'all believe that, you don't know Crystal.
But it's the way you have to go about it. But so we, like I said, we all have a role. So for me, as being mother and wife, I just want to make sure that everybody understands what part they're playing in our family. So that's why we're meeting weekly. We have meetings when challenges arise amongst one another. We're like, no, let's talk about this now. If we don't have time, we're coming back to those issues, because we know that if we're not strong, we can't go out here and fight for our people. Yeah. So for us, we just try to make sure that we all understand one another and we're building.
Yeah, and my wife talks about like having family meetings and addressing conflicts. We're also super intentional, proactive about conflicts, and we anticipate them. We promise our children that they're going to be coming. We talk to our kids about marriage, but also like sex and drugs and mental illness and some of the things that
that
they
arise in our community.
Or like some of the things they can expect to experience. And then when those things do happen, because we do have challenges in our household, in our family, we say, remember, we had promised you this was going to come up, and we double down on our commitment to solve them, and we just there for each other. We all we got, and we recognize that.
Yeah, and we don't shy away from certain topics. We talk about everything, whether somebody tried to attack me, for example. I'm talking with my girls, this is probably why they felt like this, but this is what I want. This is how I want us to behave, and I want our reaction to be a certain way as a family because we represent one another.
And then treating family like a business, like we don't tell our daughters, stay in a child's place, or like this is adult, whatever. Like we're transparent about income. Even as a higher earning income family, the books are open to our daughters. We show our bank statements. They know what we got in savings. They know how much life insurance we got. They know why all of that stuff is important. They know what's theirs. Everything we have is theirs. Just being transparent, being open, being inclusive with the way we make decisions. And those family meetings, Crystal's good about pulling us together and making sure that we are talking about the business of family, like some of like the actual like revenue generating things that we do as a family, but then also like the business of family, the day-to-day is about, the way we love each other and show up for each other. And my wife is always good about grounding us in it and making sure that we're talking about it.
Yeah, because when you think about when they're the two oldest are teenagers, they watch, they're on social media, they're watching other kids, they're seeing what's happening around them. And, I just want to make sure like we're transparent, we're open, because when you come to us and you ask us, well, how come, such and such can have this? We just paid for X, Y, and Z. This is how it
you
works.
Went to Costa Rica.
Like this, so we just don't hold back.
Yeah.
All right.
And hear the giggles.
and I hear the daughters are right here, as you all see behind it. It's the next question kind of gets into that, and knowing how to unpack that and hearing that is similar to the upbringing I had from my mom, Jan Frazier, rest in peace, and my dad, Greg Frazier, still. And I remember in that growth, in those family meetings, Sunday dinners, and just the way that sometimes my friends would trip out like, damn, this is like the Cosby Show or something. I never even sat down and had a dinner with a whole family. And for us, it was like something consistent. So with that, what are some of the unforeseen challenges your family has faced as you work collectively to empower Black people? As Jason, you've talked about that too, because it's more than saying like, okay, we're a healthy family in America. Yeah. We want to make sure that we can sustain the household. You're definitely committed and entrenched in community movement building for our people, Black folks.
Yeah. I would say it's, I wouldn't say it's an unforeseen challenge, but racism, white supremacy, internalized anti-Blackness.
I feel like toxic feminism as well.
Yeah, which is an offshoot of white supremacy. And notice you said toxic feminism because there's certain brands of it. Obviously, there's a need for women's movement, and particularly in the Black community. But what we've learned is that the white supremacy version of it is not it for us. And Crystal can share some of her own experiences and some of the things that have impacted our family, our daughters, me, because of some of the influences that brand of feminism has had on our family, and the struggles that we talk about this now a lot. We're talking about it more in the new year. The unique struggles that Black wives face in our community.
Yeah, so I'm just I'm saying, having these conversations with our daughters, and just like I mentioned, toxic feminism. I feel like we're being taught to hate Black men. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. We're taught to hate Black men, and I don't want that for my girls. They're watching our household. They're seeing how we function, and we're talking about building. We're talking about family. We're talking about seeing our future together. We're talking about our grandkids, kids. So it's we're constantly telling our kids all the time. Like they said, it is about the future. And the girls have came to me so many times, you know, whether they're around different girls or boys that are in broken households. Like I told the girls, that is not, you know, it's a lot. I would say I can get really deep into this, but I'm not going to hold us up. But, you know, it's just that when you're watching social media, when you're watching, you know, when you're getting energy from women saying, you know, it's the man's fault, or, you know, it's this and this, and I'm like, where do we take, when do we hold ourselves accountable for anything? So, you know, I get a lot of backlash for that, but it's okay. I don't mind.
I'm sure the comments right now is like,
I don't mind because at some point I feel like, you know, we should all hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah, I mean, like the sister said, you know, we got to be able to lean into these conversations, these difficult conversations, be honest with one another, because we all got lived experiences. Some of the stuff that's been uncalled for, though, like just on a personal level, is you talked about some of the surprising challenges. Like you don't expect some of the things that you receive from folks outside of the house. You know, maybe I'm just be real with y'all, like in the family or people you grew up with. You know, constant drive to try to pull families apart. To gaslight, you know, if she don't have time to do stuff, you know, it's like, oh, she ain't got her own mind, you know,
I'm being controlled because I'm married.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and a lot of women face this. We know this is true, but it really is because of the influences that it's not our community's fault. I mean, we should be talking about it. It really is, you know, from the outside influences, these brands of like, I mean, the white women's movement, man, is something else. And like and misogynoir is not a new thing. This hatred and disdain of black men is not a new thing. But it's like today we've forgotten that. And so when we hear like these disparaging narratives and notions about black men, we no longer, it's like we forget we're supposed to question that, you know, and you know, it's dangerous. And, you know, so, you know, like when these shots get fired at us, you know, you talked about our commitment to the community and things that we do. So the things that some folks are willing to make up or determined to make up.
Yeah. And I feel
it's
like
surprising and disheartening.
Sorry. Yeah. And I just feel like, you know, our people, we're hurting. You know, I feel like we don't talk about serious issues. We're not talking about mental health. You know, we're not talking about things that's happening around us. You know, I'm like physically, mentally, spiritually, relationally. Like financially, our people are hurting, and there's an issue, there is a problem, but we refuse to address these issues
as a people. Yeah, you're right. But I address them with you.
So you kind of, in that question, you kind of answered how you all deal, but now the substantive information of what you've learned and still are learning and applying as you learn. Because you're right, being present, you know, the hurt people adage. Yeah. What have you learned, and how are you learning? And as this is going, they're going to see more of the pictures of the beautiful family, and that connection and that bond. Because like seeing the work, like all of these panelists, I mean, you know, the short time you're getting with this, I thank everyone for being present with this, but it's not enough time. I hope that you all can get an opportunity to connect with everyone a part of this, as these people are helping shape and empower a Black community. As radical as sometimes people think I can be, this is like the substantive, like, let's put the building blocks together. What are you learning? How are you all learning and processing to move forward from this?
So before we get into the learning aspect, just you know, on a day-to-day, we don't get a manual to say, you know, this is how this is how you're a mother, you know, this is how you're a wife, you know, this is how you're raising your kids, this is how you live in Detroit, you know. And I think that on a day-to-day basis, we're learning together. That's what I feel like. We're just learning together. You know, we're not being ignorant to the issues. We're understanding what's happening around us, and we're learning together.
Mm-hmm. And Pooh can attest that Crystal can attest that I'm so just keeping it real, like not to bring like drama into the situation, but I mean, I have a terminal illness, and my wife has a terminal illness, and without even thinking about it, we pass that terminal illness to our kids. You call that terminal illness racism, or just, you know, hopefully old age. But, you know, the fact is we're dying, and I'm very cognizant of it. I don't know if it's middle age or what, but I go to sleep now just like with this drive to like live and worry constantly about leaving my children behind unprepared. So I think it is middle age. She ain't there yet, you know, like she's always a few years, but taking forever to catch up. Like, you ain't 40 yet. So,
I'm 42.
Took forever to get there. And I'm about to be 45. And you know, I guess the lesson is like, man, we don't have time. I mean, I feel the urgency, and I really do think maybe that's middle age, but I just, you know, learning that I don't have time, overworking, overpouring, you know, into, you know, like just doing things that don't even matter, things that somebody else is going to pick up when you leave, if you're not here no more. And, you know, learning to spend more time on the things that matter, which is this beautiful woman right here sitting on my right, and those beautiful women out there sitting in front of me.
Definitely. I thank you both for being a part of this. And people got a chance to definitely see what it's done, and just adding to how this all connects and what this all means. And I have, as we talk about generations next, the next generation as we roll through and keep this moving, is a young brother that does a whole lot in a whole lot, you know. We're talking Generation Z. One of the things that we definitely listened to a whole lot with the last presentation was people were like, you know, we got to talk about some of the young people, and the young people ain't doing enough, and will young people connect, and where are the young people at? So this brother was actually here last year and just kind of soaking up some game. And he's definitely connected to community. Mr. Juwan Howard. Let's see. And I just recently did his Detroit is Different interview. Neighborhood for show. Committed, definitely, and connected. So without any further ado, Mr. Howard, how you feeling today?
Feeling good, man. Peace.
All right. So we're going to get into your questions, man. Generation Z is something that people often have a lot of takes on, you know what I'm saying? And, and it's spoke about, and then it's like, why aren't the young people doing what we used to do? Why aren't the young people this? Why aren't the young people that? And I'm sure you hear this a lot, but you're definitely somebody from college and even before college, as we talked about community, that connects. So we're going to go right into it. In what ways have you found working in our community has helped you personally in life, intrinsically and extrinsically?
So, man, I think so intrinsically, just for me, what working in our community does, I think it kind of helps me kind of lean within to my family and how I was kind of brought up. It literally kind of fulfills me in a way, because it's really just kind of being what somebody was for me. The product of what I am is a combination of family, community, and a whole lot of other mixtures of good folks, you know, so wrapping their arms around me. So for me to be able to kind of do that community work now, again, it's just fulfilling from that sense. And from an external standpoint, what that looks like, man, from an external standpoint, I think we have an obligation to our communities and to making them better, regardless of age, whatever that might look like. So I guess, I mean, it's my obligation to our community. So externally, I always want to make sure that I'm putting my best foot forward for our people, and whatever that might look like.
All right, as I'm producing and running this whole process and connecting within that, and from our interview, it was a whole lot. And Yusef was the main one saying like, yeah, get your on. And you do a lot of stuff. And even in that, just from multiple things soaking up, you didn't even go into some of the work, but you just more so talked about pulling from the work, which is really what we want to get. So with that definitely comes this big question. This may be the elephant in the room of all questions. What have been the most effective ways you've engaged other Black people in their 20s in Black empowerment community work?
So you don't disconnect yourself. I think oftentimes, there's a disconnect between the young people and generation and things like that, because there's a disconnect, right? Like, I look and dress and walk and talk like a 26-year-old Black man from Detroit, right? You know what I'm saying? I still have like grounded principles. I'm from Pearson and Schaefer, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's where we do most of our work at. Other 20-year-olds are in that space as well. So just putting my head down and, of course, leaning on like the history and everything that was built up to this point for our people, but literally just being present and not separating myself, and literally just being around the folks that I want to connect with and that I need in this fight. You feel me? Like I said, I don't disconnect myself. And ultimately, I mean, what I've come to find out is that a lot of young folks are into this type of work as well. They just haven't found their circle of people to do it with. Again, I think Detroit, there's so many different Detroits. This is one big Detroit, but there's a conscious community, a political community, economic community, a young people crowd. What I found has been effective in this work and engaging the young people, the 20-year-olds and under, it's just not separating myself and literally me being kind of headstrong enough to think that like Black progress, I'm willing to work with or against whoever to make it happen in my community and the spaces that I'm in. And through that kind of mindset, I've attracted people that are, you know what I'm saying, in my demographic.
And with that definitely comes some of the other balance. And in that balance, you know, the fear topics, you know, what are some of the unforeseen challenges you faced as you've worked personally to empower the community?
So I would say gatekeeping essentially, right? A little bit earlier on, it was kind of hard to, you know, I started a lot of this stuff just doing it. And, you know what I'm saying, I had an idea, I'm gonna start a garden. I'm gonna start a debate league, we're gonna do it. And, you know what I'm saying, there's barriers along the way that I didn't necessarily expect, considering Detroit is the way it is in terms of the Blackness and everything else. But that was unforeseen, something that I kind of didn't expect. But that quickly, as I kind of, again, like just kept doing the work, we found ways to get around those gatekeepers and find folks like yourself, like Yusef, you know, many other people who've been able to embrace us and still make stuff happen. So initially, one of the unforeseen circumstances was the gatekeeping and not being able to, you know, work with, I guess, the older generation of folks or next generation of folks. But that quickly was bypassed as I kind of leaned more into the work and found folks that was doing it just like me.
All right. And you answered the question within it for 2. So now just, I guess, comes up to 3. What have you learned and what are you still learning as you face these challenges? Man,
so our issues are complex, very, very complex. And so although I focus on the youth and I focus on a specific neighborhood, whatever the case may be, and I knew this already getting into the work, but you can't talk about child education without talking about the economics of that community or without talking about, you know, what the social conditions are of that community. So essentially, one of the biggest things, and I'm sure anybody who organizes or does any type of work in this city, these things overlap. And so they require a multitude of folks coming together to solve that problem because the problems are across many different industries, if you want to call them that. So that's, I mean, answering the question, that's it in itself. Just having to work with many different folks and then understanding that all this stuff is tied in and connected, where I might be, again, progressing the youth into some capacity, but they go home to a whole entire community. You know what I'm saying? That community has to be taken care of as well. And I might not be in that community. So I'm gonna have to work with somebody in that community to make sure that child is still getting what they get, you know what I'm saying, the educational standpoint, as well as when they go home to whatever conditions those may be. So it's just a constant collaboration that must take place with everybody in all industries, essentially.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. As definitely seeing that connection, and I see more building with everybody a part of this.
Yeah.
And the only way that this is going to be helpful is if we all are tuned in to great health. This is another, the next panelist is somebody that great Detroit is Different interview. So I suggest going back and checking a lot of these people, as a lot of these people have been on Detroit is Different. Some definitely need to come back and reconnect with Detroit is Different and getting connected to it. This brother is somebody that, man, oh man, for the people that the old school joke, because I love Robin Harris. People know I love comedy all the time, but Robin Harris used to have a joke of like, man, you selling that Dick Gregory. He's one of those people that like started from that whole movement. So I don't know if people know this, but someone I look up to as far as like connecting media with working with our people and community was Dick Gregory. And for the while, he had many different works that he wasn't even necessarily looking to profit off of. And it created opportunity for many people. It created an opportunity for this brother to actually have a health store. I'm talking about like the end of the 80s, early 90s on Dexter and Claremont. So for people that know that intersection, you're thinking that Dexter and Claremont may be Dexter now, Dexter and Claremont then was definitely all entrenched, and the store lasted for years around health consciousness and connecting our people to something. Dr. Jesse Brown is a powerful person that I think definitely invited, a lot of people talk about Dr. Sebi. Dr. Sebi came here a couple times working with Dr. Brown and a lot of other doctors when it comes to holistic medicine. Alkaline water is something that he would talk about. Releasing mucus is something he'd talk about. Vitamin D, everything that most of us, myself, my dad, and many others were like, okay, I want to strengthen my immune system to take on anything after COVID-19, because that's how I looked at it. I don't know how you all looked at it. And it's been people doing this work in our community for forever. Somebody from our community, and this is Dr. Jesse Brown. Dr. Jesse Brown, I got the first question.
Thank you for that introduction.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's and it is quite a bit of history, and I absolutely stand on the shoulders of my ancestors. Dick Gregory was one of the influential people. Most people don't know about Dr. Frank and Mother Elizabeth Bracey, Dr. Matthews, and so many. They know about Dr. Sebi, who did some work, saw clients, and did some work through Detroit Holistic Center and the Holistic Training Institute. Queen Afua, Dr. Laila Africa, Dick Gregory. There have been so many people over the past more than 30 years that came through to empower our community, to awaken us to the most important thing, the most important resolution or goal that we'll have in life, and that's to stay alive and to be healthy and vibrant when we are alive. So, and Dick Gregory was just such a fantastic mentor. When I was able to meet him and then bring him to Detroit and have him speak here and do forums and that sort of thing, it was a dream fulfilled, so to speak, to see someone that I admired so much that modeled health and wellness to me. He's probably, I'm sure he's one of the reasons why I got into running as well. So most people don't know Dick Gregory ran across the United States.
Yeah. Shout out to Charlene Mitchell Rogers that was right there with him.
Yeah.
Well, Charlene, I know, is probably somewhere in the comments, and I'm gonna go back to the comments in a second.
Yeah.
And as you talk about that, I also like to just echo the fact that, like, not just you, it was a lot of brothers and sisters that were selling the mix. A lot of people were looking at it for diet. I don't necessarily know if Dick Gregory's goal was that as much as it was really just empowering our people. But during this time at the late 80s, when people think, oh man, it was just crack selling. Right in the heart, it was a lot of brothers and sisters throughout, not just here in Detroit, but Baltimore, Philadelphia, Charlotte, New York, definitely across the nation, that had opportunities to empower people with health goods, something powerful. So with that, let's jump right into the first question I got for you.
Okay, so in here, I just want to highlight this. So some people knew about the Dick Gregory Bahamian diet.
Yeah.
We started at that time. He also started something called Correction Connection, which was a formula designed to help people break those addictions, because of course that was a major concern in our community as well as it is today.
And shout out Mama Kim Sharobi's here too. As she walked in and knew you directly, I was like, I should have known that both you guys would know.
Absolutely.
What are some of the most practical and beneficial actions you've seen people take to strengthen health throughout the Black community?
First of all is food. So I have to say food, and then physical activity, and then businesses that relate to health. First of all, we got to have food. We have to have food security. So Detroit is actually a mecca and becoming more of a prominent place in the U.S. and beyond for having urban gardens and farms, D-Town, and so many of those types of initiatives that we're having here to make sure that our people are fed and have access to food affordably. That's essential. The next would be physical activity. So Detroit at various times has been rated as the fattest or the unhealthiest, one of the unhealthiest cities in the United States. And it's partly because of our winter, the seasonality. We can't go outside all the time, and our factory and production life and some other things. that contribute to that. But physical activity is increasing. Fortunately, people are doing more walking, they're doing more running. You have some of the largest running groups and cycling groups that are happening in Detroit. Detroit is known for first anyway and doing some breakthrough and revolutionary stuff. But physical activity is becoming more prominent, and that needs to be an essential part of our resurgence, our renaissance, and our transformation. And then the economics of health. Okay, so many people will talk about the drugs that proliferate in the community. Drugs, alcohol, the vices and problems that we have would not be where they are, would not be the factors that they are if there were not economics behind it. You want to change that? You want to get people to stop smoking or drinking or using drugs as much? Take the economics out of it. So when there's economic incentive, when billions or trillions of dollars are being made in these vices, it's always going to be here. So similarly, the natural products industry, for example, is part of a multi-billion-dollar health and wellness industry anyway, is $300 billion people will spend in natural products, or spending approximately, now. And that's going to go to about 400 billion in less than a decade by 2030. We need to be a part of that. We need to be developing. We need to solve problems for people in ways that are good for the planet, that are profitable, principled, and philanthropic. We do that. We have a template for transformation like never before. So put some economics, allow people to feed their families, take care of their communities, and make social change and transformation through doing good things, through doing the right things, social entrepreneurship. And so you find more and more companies are doing that. They're looking at the packaging, they're looking at the sourcing, they're looking at how people are treated, where things are grown, if they're using chemicals or not, all these different things that impact people's health and impact the health of the environment and the planet as well. So that's where we're moving, and the Holistic Training Institute, and what my mission is to help train healers in every home, in every family, in every community, so that we can take advantage of that. So we're not just consumers, but we are producers. We're solving problems. We're getting educated. We're understanding our health and wealth and how things are going to look in the future.
And I definitely think that we're tuning in a lot more to the alkaline diets and alkaline water as more herbs. Shout out to more herbs. That's where I go get a lot of my vitamins. It's like every time I go in there, you go at the wrong time. It's bustling over there on 7 Mile with people. And it really exists too, because I mean, if you I guess put a little dye on your beard and locks, they have no idea. How old are you?
I'm 67. Yeah. And I'm a runner, as some people know.
And I wanted to say that before this next question, because it's real and it echoes as people, think that 67. And I mean, seriously, I think it's probably people in their 20s that definitely running a mile, you out running, and so many other things.
I'm faster than I was 16 years ago.
Wow.
My marathons, my half marathons, and everything else are faster than they were 16 years ago. I ran my first marathon at 51. I wanted to be in shape I wanted to be in marathon shape by the time I turned 50, but my sister threw me a birthday party at 50. I didn't make that marathon. Yeah. But the day after I turned 51, I ran my first marathon, and so I've been running ever since. And that's one of the key things, being not just being active, but being active at a high level.
You're getting right into that next question I got.
Okay.
And that's, in general, what should be the quality of life and health that people in our community should be experiencing? What are the essential vitamins, herbs, exercises, meditations, and or relationships that should be kept to achieve this? Hence, like I always like to say, I want to be able to do 30 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, 10 pull-ups. Like I have like these things in my mind, which I mean, it's not like a test or something, but just me and my own ego. But what are some of the things essential that need to exist? If I see Sherrod.
Well, instead of being the unhealthiest people on the planet, instead of Africans in America having the highest rates of cancer, diabetes, and heart disease and high blood pressure and these things, we should be exhibiting the best in all aspects of health. It was only the healthiest people that were brought here from the continent of Africa through the Middle Passage that survived slavery and all the atrocities and everything that we've gone through. We excel in athletics in many cases, but when it comes to the average, person, we're woefully inadequate. We should be much more vibrant than anybody else. We should have greater longevity and greater healthfulness. Now that's going to look different for different people, but when we talk about our lives, when we talk about health and we talk about how old we are, we start from the very young and we say, how old is that child? How old is that, that person? We think about it in terms of being old. And then we say, oh, a certain age or stage that you're old and you shouldn't do X, Y, and Z. And then we see people like Ernestine Shepherd, who was the world's oldest female bodybuilder. And we see her excelling. We see her running 5-6 miles, in the morning, 5-6 o'clock in the morning before she works out with others. Most of us can express health like that. It's in our genes. We have genius in our genes and diamonds in our DNA, as I like to say. We are more brilliant and resilient than what we're exhibiting, but we're thinking from a different mindset and we're lying about dying. We're saying, oh, somebody's died of old age, or, well, they lived a ripe old life for whatever, it's 70 or 80. We're getting sicker sooner and dying faster because we have an expectation that would occur. My father told me something a long time ago. He said first that his parents died by the time he was 17. So he didn't expect to make it to 70. He lived to 76, but those last 6 to 8 years or so, he wasn't in great health. So our expectations are going to drive our motivation and our action, our activity, and the results we're going to get. Okay, so if sickness, if chronic disease runs in your family, run it out of there. Okay, find out what to eat. Give your body real food. We enjoy our restaurants and eating and gatherings and those types of things, and we allow that to distract us from understanding the fuel that this temple really needs. We treat our cars, our clothes, our cribs better than we do our bodies. And so what do we expect? You spend $70,000, $50,000, whatever on a car and maintaining it and the insurance and everything else, and go cheap on the body. You don't do a $1.99 Happy Meal. Okay, if you have a Maserati type body or Ferrari type body, we got to look at our bodies and our health and our potential for longevity and healthfulness differently.
So that brings us to the first fear question. What are some of the unforeseen challenges you have faced while working to empower Black health in the Black community?
Unforeseen challenges. A couple of challenges that I'll say in terms of business is, one, in 1987, when I started Detroit Holistic Center, there weren't holistic health centers. So having access to finances and funding, that was difficult. And then having support around that as well. So I had some mentorship, but that was challenging. People told me that, especially on Dexter and Davison, that Black people aren't gonna support the business. They're not gonna come.
If I was an investor, I definitely don't know how much I would put in behind me having love for you.
Exactly. I mean, it's straight up hood. 1987, straight up hood. Okay. However, and I think it was Marcus Garvey that said, drop your buckets where you are, basically establish yourself wherever you are. Start with what you have, do it the best that you can. And we transformed that space. We made that an oasis of health and wellness and outgrew that. And then here it is, it was more than 30 years later, over 60,000 people later. Okay, we're still seeing people, and the awareness about health and wellness and colonics and cleansing and all that is transformed tremendously, exponentially. Okay, so where we are in terms of the city and where we are in terms of urban areas, in terms of our awareness and our activity and our movement toward that has gone a long ways. But I'll tell you, the early days and a lot of those middle years were difficult because of the lack of consciousness, lack of investment, and us just not really investing in our own health and wellness like we really could. We really need to step it up. I'm going to do some writing on that in some recording on that in terms of what people really need to do. You asked about, what are the things people should do? Should they meditate? Should they take vitamins and minerals? Too often people are looking for something magic. And guess what? There is no magic bullet. It's programmatic. It's not, it's a program, not a product. Okay. So it's from what you do first thing in the morning and throughout the day. It's what you do most of the time, not what you do some of the time. People want to drink a juju juice or take just say, CMOS is going to cure everything. Well, it's more than just one thing or two things. And don't drink alkaline water, have an alkaline diet, and acidic mindset and lifestyle. Okay, is going to cancel out. It's what we do all together. It's our relationships. Okay, it's our relationship to the earth and the planet and other people. How we treat ourselves is going to be reflective of how we treat others. Okay, so it's more of a dynamic. So we need the program, the template, a holistic template is going to be more complete, more well-rounded, more inclusive, so that it does impact us in the schools and in our places of worship. Every place that we go, everything that we do is a prayer. Every place is an opportunity to infuse some aspect that is healing, that provides a sense of wholeness, inclusion, love more than hate, optimism over fear, the ability to reach out and connect with people more than withdraw and see people as other, playing the dozens, finding fault and flaw. Okay.
And with that, you answered the next two, 1 and 2 together,
okay,
but not to 3. And I thank you
Okay.
so much for being present with this.
All right.
I'm going to do some more content with you this year. We spoke a little bit about that.
Absolutely.
As I'm always ripping and running.
Yes.
Also, Baba Simmons. I don't know if Baba Simmons is still here. I'm going to do some more content with Baba Simmons and Carolyn. We've said it for a while. So Carolyn, you're going to see more collaborative of a lot of the panelists with Detroit is Different coming in 2024. Last question. What have you learned? And what are you still learning from these challenges that you face as more people are getting connected to this work?
What have I learned and what am I learning? I'm constantly learning. And that's part of the process, is always being open to the reality and the fact that there's more that's available than what we're seeing. And that people actually, they do want to change. They do want to have, most of us are very similar. We're more alike than different. We want good health for ourselves, our family members. Those people that we love. We want to be in communities that are safe and nurturing. We really want fundamentally the same things. We don't know how to get there. We don't always know how to get there. We don't know how to navigate the health system. We don't understand our bodies enough. There's so many things that we're not taught in traditional schools that we need to learn that are essential. And sometimes we find that out far too late. So then we get out of balance with nature, and we make choices that oftentimes are not our own, but are those things that we're programmed to do. So I find that that the more that I share and the more that I work in collaboration with other people, the more possibilities that there are, that it's unlimited. Dick Gregory shared something, with me years ago that I'll not soon forget. He said, "You got a big job." And he charged many of us with that and said, "You got a big job." He would talk about the problem, but he always would just say, "You got a big job," because he believed that people would do it. It may not happen in his lifetime, and it didn't happen in his lifetime. But if each of us takes this on, just imagine what would happen if we had 1 million more healers, people healing relationships, people healing bodies and touching and connecting, especially after COVID, especially after the isolation and fear and the, oh my God, what's going to happen? And we're masking up, we're avoiding people. We're doing things that are fundamentally against our nature as community people, as people who need to be around other people. And so our health decline, our mental, our physical, our spiritual, our emotional health decline. Things will never be the same. But what we need to do is we have to swing the pendulum the other way by recognizing the problems that we have and how we can solve those, because the solution is in our hands. It's not going to happen from the institutions or on high. It's going to happen from the bottom up. The revolution is going to be is going to take a different form in terms of our health and our generational health in addition to our generational wealth.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brown, and a lot of great game. As he definitely talked about more so the intrinsic, the internal, how we dealing with that. But now we about to get into somebody talking about the external, how we deal with that, because we still are Black in America. And then when we Black in America, you know what we facing. So this sister is someone that like immediately it was like, hey, we need a resource. Can you work? And I was like, I'm ready to work. Detroit is Different is a resource for media empowerment, providing voice to so many others. So if you're watching and you're looking, definitely make that connection. And so many things, Detroit justice definitely needed. Nancy Parker's in that role as an attorney, living in the community, family in the community, working in community. And it's so much that, we can deal with just in the community when it comes to justice. So without any further ado, Nancy Parker, how are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great, actually. Just being amongst all my people. It's Kwanzaa, Habari Gani.
Purpose.
I cannot complain. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm glad you were in town, because first, I don't know when this text started, back in November or something. And it was like, all right. You was like, if I'm in town, I'm there. So I'm like, yes, you in town. And you in town. It was like, all right, I'm hoping there's no snow. There's no snow on the ground, surprisingly, in the city of Detroit, which I'm sure next year we'll get some more environmental, which Piper could have did that too. And we'll talk about that eventually when we get to it. But let's get into this Black justice and this work that you do. In what ways have you witnessed better relationships in our community strengthen our access to more equitable outcomes throughout the American justice system?
All right, so a deep question. And so first, I must start by explaining where I work and what I do. So I'm over at the Detroit Justice Center, and we are a PIC abolitionist organization. That means we are a prison industrial complex abolitionist organization. We are working alongside communities to address all the ills of mass incarceration while we tear down these death-making institutions, prisons, jails, ICE detention centers, policing, surveillance. Everything of that sort is a harmful death-making institution that has been poured into us. And so we are trying to tear those down while we build up these new systems of being in relationship with one another. And so to have the privilege to live in the city of Detroit, the West Side, this is a great time. I mean, you see community here today, but I think folks have wised up, and you're no longer seeing the old guard, which was respectability politics, crabs in a barrel, individualism. You're seeing folks recognize and identify that we're dealing with systems of oppression, that we're dealing with institutions of oppression, and there is no individual failing that leads to one's demise. It is the system that is working exactly as intended that we must tear down. So having that context, my good brother Khary asked me, you know, how have us working together created more equitable outcomes for Black folks in America? That is, it's a trick question. Because what you're seeing is that there have been some strides or some police officers convicted here and there. But all you're doing is continuing to drink the Kool-Aid by investing in that system. So the current system is not fair. While others call it the justice system, most folks who are steeped in this work, you hear us refer to it as the injustice system or the punishment system. We live in a punitive society. There's nothing rehabilitative about it. There's nothing redeemable about it. They are serving to throw people away, and specifically people that look like you and I. Black people, right? Poor people, brown people, people with deep chocolate skin. They hate us. My good sister Carolyn was up here talking about misogynoir and Black, anti-Black hate, right? Directed at women. They hate us. My being is a threat. And this is what we're fighting against. But the system that we have does not serve us. So if we continue to feed into it, at worst, we're trying to get blood from a stone. At best, we're dealing with a broken clock. It may be right 2 times a day. You may see a police officer who killed Tyree Nichols or who murdered Dante Wright. You may see some convictions and you may see people celebrating. You will not see me celebrating because we are only entrenching that system. What we must do as a people is identify that this is a harmful institution that does not serve us. So now what do? We must tear it down. We must think of alternative ways that we can support each other, that we can keep each other safe, that does not rely on these systems. And so what does that mean? What does that look like? Well, how do we get change in this country? Change happens when the folks who are directly impacted, when we take collective action, when we lead our struggles, when we say enough is enough, when we flood the streets, when we make our demands known and clear, we articulate it with no uncertain terms. Once we do that, that's where we see power shift. All struggles are power struggles, and we are fighting for that power. And we get it once we come together. And so once we slowly take that power, we now have our own agency. And so, yes, in the city of Detroit, the Blackest city in this country, which we are proud to hold that honor, there are moments where we see this change. And I think you can even go back to the murder of Malice Green. Those police officers were convicted, and that was because you had Black activism. You had a group of people that were like, absolutely no, right? And so you get that conviction, but then throughout the years that follows, you get more Black people killed and who are either killed by police, sentenced to death by incarceration for life terms, or if it's 20 years, but we can't survive because of all the health and systemic issues that are already killing us, right? So we have all these periods in between of dire situations. And then you can jump to the racial reckoning that so-called occurred in 2020 and 2021, right? But all of a sudden, because the killings, the lynchings of Black people is now televised with our cell phones. So they murdered George Floyd. And the sad part about it is we don't know how many George Floyd existed prior to what we witnessed, right? But because of that, everyone wants to prove that they're not racist. They want to prove that we're going to solve this racism issue. So they're going to flood money and they're going to all now say Black Lives Matter, right? And so we think that we're moving ahead because we are. Because for a period of time, we have come together. but it's fleeting for those who are not steeped in this work, for people who this is not cosplay, that I don't go home and take my skin off, that I can't say I'm tired. Today, I just want to chill. I have 2 little Black girls that the reason I'm in this work, this is life work. This is passionate work, just like all of these forefathers and foremothers that you see around this room. I do not have a choice. I am fighting for freedom so that my children can live and walk outside and my heart doesn't stop and wonder if they're going to come home to me in one piece. So everyone came together in this monumental moment, and we were able to do beautiful things here in the city of Detroit. Detroit Will Breathe led 100+ days of marches in the street in 2020. We had great organizations that were doing great work. We were making demands of the city, right? And followed that, you saw a lot of great organizing. Hakeem Littleton was murdered by DPD, execution style. And I think in any other time, if a young Black man shoots at the police officer, regardless of anything else, respectability politics, not wanting to buck anything, the majority of the people would have been like, well, my man's got what he deserved. And don't get me wrong, some people still had that, that chatter. But the majority of the people said, hold on, this is not right. We must fight for justice for Hakeem. So the Coalition for Police Transparency and Accountability, as well as community members, other folks, clearly Hakeem Littleton's family, came together. We put on a tribunal. We heard this young man's story. And what was it that led him to that point? We always just fixate on the pivotal moment, and we never look at the history. We never look at the years, the months, the decades of oppression. And I feel in that moment, we as a community in Detroit said, nah, we have to take a stand. And that was beautiful to be a part of and to witness. But we wrote to DOJ, we wrote to all this, we did all these things to try to get justice for his family. Although true justice, when a Black life is taken, would mean that life returns. And we know that's not possible. So what we're really fighting for is accountability for those who are committing harm. We really did not receive that. So what does that mean? Again, as a Black person with deep chocolate, beautiful skin that I love to wear every day, it means that to think that you can get equity, justice in a system that's in a country that the foundation of said country is white supremacy, you're looking for fool's gold. You will never receive that. This country was not made for you. And they tell us every day. That does not mean we keep fighting. That means we understand who our oppressors are. We understand who the forces against us are. And we band together and we get more justice, which we define what that looks like. I said, Habari Ghani, we are in Kwanzaa season. My favorite principle is Kuji Chagalia, self-determination. Self-determination in the criminal legal sphere means that we as Black folks, we demand our right to determine how it is that we live in our communities. And that means we define how we keep ourselves safe, how we attend to harm and violence. We do not have to use this white supremacy, patriarchy tools. We have our own tools.
I'm with it. I'm with it. And y'all see why Nancy be on it. I mean, I would say go back and definitely check so much of the work we've already done through the Detroit is Different archives. I mean, just so much information, what I'll call game on what it is. And if you watch Detroit is Different enough, I'm consistently saying and echoing a lot of what Nancy just said. The design of America is for white men with property and businesses. The further you go from that design, it's not necessarily functioning, but I love the way that she eloquently put it. It's about understanding, and then from that understanding, knowing how we move. So with that, What are practical actions people can take to empower our community towards better resolutions by engaging with this system, as you say, the American injustice system?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as much as I can talk ad nauseum about the ills and the corruption in this country, I'd rather talk about what it is that we can do, what we should be doing, what we can build up, how we can transform how we live in this space, how we make it our own. And the first thing I have to say is get organized. Get organized. You are in the space right now. Everyone here is here because you are called to a purpose to help free Black people. We're all fighting for Black liberation, right? So we need to do that collectively, regardless of whether your skin looks like mine or not. Like Malcolm said, I'm with anybody who's for the liberation of Black folks. I don't care what you look like. So what does that mean? That means get organized. Join folks who were out in the community demanding change. You know, the handful of folks, just to name a few, that we work with specifically at the Detroit Justice Center. We work with Detroit Action. We work with Michigan Liberation. A lot of great orgs are out here, right? So join up, because these are the folks who are going to city council and demanding accountability from your electeds. One thing I want to say that I don't think a lot of folks speak on enough, and part of one of our major buckets of work at DJC is making sure folks have valid driver's license or state IDs, because this is your jury pool. This is where they are selecting people to be judge, to be jury and executioner, basically, of our people. So when folks are going on trial and they're supposed to be in front of a jury of their peers, many a times, no one looks like them. And they're facing these unfair sentences. Again, unfair, but literally fair, because that's how the system is designed, right? So folks, if you need help with your driver's license, if you got warrants, outstanding tickets, we know it's intentional. Again, it is not an individual failure. Get that out of your head. Everything that is happening to you is not in isolation to you. It is literally part of a system that is functioning as it's intended. But we need our brothers and sisters to have either state IDs or driver's licenses so you can be part of that jury pool. So you get organized, you get your L's, you attend and get educated and know your rights training, right? So you must understand your right before you can express it and enforce it. A lot of folks are walking deaf, dumb, and blind and don't realize it in 2023, going into 2024. And it is incumbent upon each and every one of us. But we must also each take individual accountability that I don't know what I don't know. So let me go to this workshop that's being put on, by this community group, so I can know my rights as it pertains to interactions with police, so I can understand my right as it pertains to land and my property taxes. And we see how they stole how many homes from people in Detroit. Once you understand what is yours innately, but also by being a resident in this land, you have the ability to enforce and keep what is yours, so it is not taken from you. Get educated, right? Join Divest Invest campaigns. Divest Invest means that we are trying to shift funding and resources away from these carceral and death-making institutions that are killing us. So instead of giving DPD more money and tech tools and toys and militarized gear so that they can kill us and over criminalize our people, we need to shift those money and funds into organizations, community. You heard Brother Khary gave a plug. If you got it, give to Detroit is different. They're doing the work of educating the people. Shameless plug, give to the Detroit Justice Center. Give to anything that you are called to, because this is how we get free, by supporting our own, by coming to events, by getting educated, by holding people to account. As an abolitionist, I'll be remiss if I do not say, read up on abolitionist politics. A lot of folks may not like that terminology, and I don't need everybody to get to the freedom land. My sister Harriet Tubman did not free everybody, right? She only freed some, enough. I just need those who are willing, who are open, who know that they want something different, come along with me. And if you can't get all the way to freedom, that's okay. Go as far as you can go. But guess what? I'm going to keep going.
And with that, you definitely giving game. I was thinking, I was like, let me get the information for the scroll up and give some money. But it's more than that. And even sharing in these resources, as a lot of the principles in Nguzo Saba are real in empowerment and building, but sharing in these resources, that's why I'm so glad to build on this connection. And clearly we're going to do some more content together.
Absolutely.
But what are some of the unforeseen challenges you have faced while working to empower this work for Black folks in this American injustice system?
I mean, I think a lot of the challenges are not per se unforeseen. Just the amount of trauma and terror that is out here that our people are dealing with on a consistent basis, trying to live while coming home and dealing with that heavy weight of, oh, I made it another day in a world that hates me, that is literally trying to take me out, right? But in terms of doing this work in community and maybe receiving resistance or pushback, I think the major things are, it's a product of white supremacy. Everything goes back to white supremacy and slavery, to be real with you. But people want a change. People know that the way that we're living is not it. But for me to come and have a conversation with them and say, you know what? I'm going to take away the only source that you have ever known that you were told was your safety, which is police and the policing system, the carceral state that we live in. I'm saying this is not serving you. It's not serving us. It has not served us for decades. Let's take it away and do something different. Now, people know it's not working, but where people are like, Nancy, I'm with you up until I can't give them every single answer for all the parade of horribles they want to throw at me, right? And so when you can't give someone an answer, it's as if they're like, nah, that's not it. And to that, I struggle because I'm dumbfounded because I say it all the time. You know, the colloquial definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. And that is literally what we do in this country. But to have someone stand up and say, hey, let's try a different way. Let's throw away this thing and build up a better way of being in relationship with one another. Everyone's like, oh, that's a bridge too far. Let's give them body cameras so we can watch when they kill us. Let's ban certain weapons so then they can put us in a chokehold. Malice Green was beat to death with the flashlight. So y'all want to reform all the ways that they kill us. And I'm raising my hand saying, excuse me, I actually don't want to die. I want to live, right? And so the challenge really has been to engage in this thoughtful conversation with folks where you're not dismissing their apprehension. You're not dismissing their pain. You're not dismissing their trauma. But you just kind of want to shake them and say, but look, what we currently have is not working for you and I. Let's do something different. So I think just getting people to dream with that radical imagination that we do so beautifully at DJC, that we believe another way is possible because we're living embodiments of it. Our ancestors were born into the condition of slavery, where that was literally a fixed condition, but others were able to say, yeah, nah, this ain't it. This ain't it. I know this is literally all we have ever known, but this is not it. And there has to be something else. I take that legacy of fight and foresight to say the condition that we are currently inhabiting is not it. And I want to get to this abolitionist future where we keep each other safe, where we can say, okay, harm will occur because we are human beings. But when that harm occurs, How can we deal with it that centers humanity, dignity, love, care, that does not center punishment, right? And vindictiveness, but rehabilitation. And so what we're doing here is we're trying to dream bigger than what we can see. And that might be transformative justice, restorative justice, not locking someone away for decades because they made one horrible mistake, allowing people to have a second chance at life.
So with that, as you know, amazing. Actually, you answer each question in that response of what, how, and what you're still learning in that process. And we're still definitely learning that. This was powerful. Nancy, as I know, people are like, I'm just looking at the stream. When you go back and watch it, and then we're going to post this on Facebook for those that missed it. You're going to see like all the game, like a lot of black fist up and like, hey, where was he? In the city. Definitely connecting and empowering our people. I thank you so much, Nancy. And Detroit Justice Center, wave a banner. Always glad to give. I'm giving to a lot of orgs because that's the cooperative, and we're sharing in resources, not just cameras and podcasting, but also if we got a couple dollars, we're throwing that back and forth to one another. I want to say like our collard green cook-off was like our collard green cook-off was like August, whatever, like 20th, and it was like I donated to you all donated to Detroit is Different. Right. Then I turned around and gave right back to Detroit Justice Center. That's because that's the balance, and that's the way we need to support one another. And when we talk about supporting one another, the brother that's coming up next is somebody I'm always running the streets with. I mean, this guy, he's actually 2 events right now. He's 2 places at once, surprisingly, and someone that similar to me, like our backgrounds like intersect on many levels. You know, I'm always calling him G-Mac because that's his hip hop moniker. As mine is less mindful be in effect here too. It's but Greg McKenzie in Black Business, as I'm about to prepare his slide, the introduction. People should know our Keebaline Village, always connecting with our people. This is tax season. Like me, he definitely helps so many people start businesses, 501c3s, taxes, but overextends in sharing of resources and helping navigate. As much as like the justice system is an injustice system, the financial system may definitely be one of those systems that for sure is not designed for a lot of people with this on them. But we working it through. Greg McKenzie, how you doing, my brother?
What up, though?
What up? I'm about to get those slides ready for you. Hold on. Yep, but you can talk to the people. Let them know.
So just to give you all a brief introduction of me, my name is Gregory McKenzie. I'm the son of Ruth McKenzie. I'm a second-generation entrepreneur and accountant. My mother instilled in me that it was my responsibility to go out and get some information that I could then bring back to my community to make my community more strong and more resilient. And so I didn't even really want to be an accountant. I was trying to do something that was exciting and fun. I thought I had a pretty good gift to gab, so I wanted to go into marketing and sales. And when I started to study marketing, I saw math class after math class after math class related to statistics and analysis. And I said, wait, if I'm going to do all this math, I might as well do the family business. So I ended up with a degree in accounting. And that has actually been the best decision that I made, because accounting just turns out to be the ultimate backstage pass, as I would put it. I mean, you are dealing with people's finances, so you immediately have to enter into the space with a high level of integrity because you are garnering a high level of trust. And so you have to take that very seriously and work with it in a way that, you know, is beneficial to the people that you're working with. And so it's what I strive to do.
All right. So for this presentation and the next presentation, it's like I'm kneeling and everything. We working out the production of everything. Okay. So you can show that. I didn't even know that had that option. So we working both. We're about to work that stream. So do you see your presentation?
I don't, but it's okay. It's just one slide, and it was
okay
intended to assist me in having some cues to remember what I want to talk about.
We're gonna get that up.
All good.
All right.
And we can roll. It's all good, you know.
All right, let's rock and roll.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Okay, so let's just hit you with question one, and then we're gonna get this all ready for you to see. What practical examples of cooperative economics have you witnessed in our community?
Right on. So cooperative economics, yesterday's principle for Kwanzaa and today is Nia, purpose. All seven are just so beautifully aligned to strengthen us as a community. Definitely the healing is in the culture. But examples of cooperative economics that I've had a opportunity to participate and witness. One in particular I'd like to highlight, shout out to my brother Yusef Bunchy Shakur and the Community Movement Builders Organization, Vegan Tuesday. Vegan Tuesday was toward, as Comrade Yusef calls it, a Black economic ecosystem. And so through the Vegan Tuesday enterprise, community movement builders went out to vegan chefs in the Black community and asked them to produce a meal on a Tuesday that they would source the produce from Black farmers in the community. And then we would put the call out to the Black community to come into this Black space, the Mama Akua House, and purchase and enjoy a vegan meal. So in doing so, we were hoping to stimulate some economic activity. And we carried out Vegan Tuesday for a few years, even through the pandemic, with many people who may be in this very room who participated and came in and supported and bought meals and enjoyed and networked, and many things came out of it, more so than just the food aspect. But Vegan Tuesday is one example of those types of cooperative economics. Another example is, in my mind, it's all about cooperation over competition. So I seek to, through my position at Alkebulan Village, make it possible for fledgling nonprofits to be able to get their 501c3, have a fiscal sponsor, and then mentor them along the way to doing it themselves without needing oversight and guidance. And so we've had opportunity to do this with several nonprofits in our community, Detroit Women of Color, Black to the Land, to name a few, who came through the Alkebulan Village pipeline and were able to receive their inaugural funding, utilizing us as a fiscal sponsor, and then now on their own operate their own nonprofit entities. And so in my mind, the more of us that have these functioning nonprofit entities that are going to do things with them that are really in service of the community, then the better for us. So that's just a few examples of cooperative economics. There's some more that I can get into, but I don't want to talk super long.
All right. What is the practical purpose and value of relationships within community and the business ecosystem?
Absolutely. So, relationships is the cornerstone of the whole thing. My relationship with Yusef Bunchy Shakur started from us. And he likes to tell the story of being janky promoters. We brought Dead Prayers to town in 2013. And neither one of us had promoted an event of that scale or that cost or all of the things that came along with that. So, but through that experience, we learned a lot about each other, and it strengthened our relationship. And when we did Vegan Tuesday, it was the relationships that made that possible. We talk about a collaboration like Village Pizza, where It's Food Detroit and Brittany March, a fabulous pizza chef. If you don't know, you should know. Check her out, vgnpza.com. You can get pizza every Sunday and every first Saturday. But a collaboration like, and there's a picture of her right there on the graphic that just popped up. A collaboration like Village Pizza, where Brittany March provides a pizza program for the youth to learn and have a job opportunity in the pizza business while being incubated in the nonprofit so that she can learn her business at the same time. So, those types of things come through relationships that you just can't get unless you have them. I think it's like the mycelium network of this Black economic ecosystem that we're talking about. It's certainly the relationships. We just finished a Kwanzaa ball that was a collaboration between Avalon Village and Alkebulan Village. Relationships between Mama Shu and Infadishi Marvis Cofield that go back decades that make things like that possible. So I think the relationships are the glue. They are the network that make it all possible for collaboration and cooperative economics.
And with that, some of the fear questions just to grow from and connect to.
Sure.
As you know, we getting this tight. Thank you for everybody tuning in. The stream actually is going up with more people tapped in. That's all love. Great. Lori Parks is here. So shout out Lori in effect, but in the stream too, all of that, you know. What are some of the unforeseen challenges you face while working to empower Black businesses in the Black community?
You know, some of the unforeseen challenges we face is, you know, unexpected misunderstandings. You know, it's very important that we have our agreements tight when we work with each other, because things can get misconstrued and details get lost in the wash, and then good relationships sour. And so our whole objective should be to stay together, like the Al Green song. But this is made possible by being very clear when we deal with each other, what the expectations, what the deliverables, and all of those things are. So having a very solid and tight memorandum of understanding, or whatever document you use to structure those, is a key thing in keeping us together while we're doing this thing.
Definitely. With that, how do you deal with those challenges? You kind of answered it, but more so like when you see that, because just business is difficult, period. But Black business in the Black community, empowering Black folks, it's like other layers of some of those difficulties that can present themselves.
Sure.
How do you deal with that?
I mean, I think personally, for me, there's a thought process that comes out of the Shrine of the Black Madonna Church that, you know, to isolate one of our brothers or sisters is a sin. And so the ideal of collectivism to me is more important than the ideal of maybe winning a dispute. It's more important to me to figure out, how do we remain in contact? How do we remain in league and community with each other than I'm right, you wrong. And so I think that's the way to approach dealing with, you know, when we have challenges, when we're working with each other, is to be beholden to a larger idea that we are part of a community. And in order for the community to be healthy, we all have to have good connections with each other.
So with that, we close on this one. What have you learned, and what are you still learning with these challenges? You definitely touched on some practical examples of what that can be and how to get started and, you know, get going. But what have you learned, and what are you still learning in this connection?
I mean, so what I've learned is that, you know, there's a tremendous amount of power in our community. We have everything we need. And, you know, this is said in a cliche form. I mean, it's just a fact. We have everything we need probably to do most of the things we need to be a nation. And so I think the most powerful thing that we can continue to do is to collaborate with each other, to find creative ways in the spirit of tomorrow's principle, to link with one another, to solve the problems that we have collectively, utilizing our collective strengths and skills.
So with that being said, thank you so much, my brother
Sure,
G Mac.
no doubt.
As I'm coming and we close today's event. And I know we're going a little overtime. It was 2 hours, but y'all know what it is. You know, y'all could have been here for like 4 hours. You know, we start talking and building. Y'all on YouTube anyway, and Lord knows what you probably watching on YouTube is nothing like this for Detroit, for our people, and what's connecting. This is powerful. The next person, y'all know this one is somewhat close to heart always when we talk about what I've learned and what I'm still learning in media, and my sister in arms on so much. If it's one thing, people always call it her about me and vice versa. And just one of the best laughs, but also one of the most committed people to a lot of things. And that's my Piper Carter. Piper Carter, where you at, Piper? Where you at, Piper? All right, switch to Piper.
All right, peace. What up, though?
What up? What up? All right, hold on. We got
Yeah.
go with third right first.
Okay. Yes.
Piper is in the media arts as well, and came with the fanciest of fancy profiles, slides that we gonna get going and everything. So, but before we get to that, you got a good introduction that you would like to speak to. So
Yeah.
let's speak to the introduction, and then we'll get your slides ready and everything. Look at
Okay.
Piper.
All right. So peace, everyone. What up, though? My name is Piper Carter. I have Piper Carter podcast. Before I get started, I want to tell everybody like, share, and subscribe to Detroit is Different. So do that right now, and tell a friend to tell a friend, because even though, you know, X amount of people join on the live stream, we're hoping that people, you know, there's still a couple of days left in 2023. So we want to make sure that this stream goes out, you know, to as many people as possible. The other thing I want to do, I just want to ground myself in this conversation with my mom, rest in peace, Maggie Jean Reeser, who was from Black Bottom, which is an important historical place here in Detroit, was the first accounts payable at Motown. So if you ever go to the Motown Museum, there's one time card there. It's hers. She was the original PR for Mason in the morning show. So she's the reason that show did so well in the 80s and 90s. So just wanted to root myself in that. And then with that, in the spirit of Black consciousness, just wanted to root myself in the history of media here in Detroit. And while this is not an exhaustive history, it's a couple names and places that I wanted to name in this moment. So, you know, I wanted to say that, and I wrote my thoughts down because I can talk a lot and I can go, and we only got so much amount of time. So I put my points here.
My Piper.
So I wanted to say it's essential to give honor to those who have paved the way, inspired our journey through empowering Black media in Detroit. And so if you, I mean, you know, we're live, so it's okay to make some noise for some of these. I want to give honor to people like Martha Jean the Queen, Rise in Power, Reverend Joanne Watson, Rise in Power, as well as Mason, Nat Morris, Electrifying Mojo, and WGPR, who in 1975 was the nation's first Black-owned TV station, and WJZZ, which is WCHB, which was the first Black-owned radio station built from the ground up, and consistently held the highest Arbitron rating for jazz radio stations in the United States. The Michigan Chronicle, founded in 1936 by John H. Sengstack, editor of the Chicago Defender. American Black Journal, originally titled Colored People's Time. It went on the air following the '67 rebellion. The Drum pamphlets by my uncle, Aaron Ibn Pori Pitts, who was a member of the League of Revolutionary Black Workers and Republic of New Africa. And of course, Berry Gordy, as problematic as he is, and the Motown formula have all left us a very lasting legacy. And I also want to uplift, you can go to the next slide. I also want to uplift some current Black media people that are making new history. Detroit is different. There's a Black agrarian curriculum that we worked on. The National Black Food and Justice Alliance has done a market study, which is really important. Black Power Media, Baba Charles Simmons, Keith Owens, Biba Adams, Kirby Gwen, Robin Kinney with Motor City Woman, Kwasi Akwamu with Rebuild New African Independence periodical, Kim Hunter with Engage Michigan and Progress Michigan, Greg Dunmore's Post Beat TV, Michael Imhotep's African History Network, and of course, Janet Webster Jones and Allison Jones Turner, mother and daughter owners of Source Booksellers. Again, it's not exhaustive, but just wanted to give those shouts out. And you could go to the next slide, please. And did you want to ask me the question, or I can just go?
I'm gonna have you roll because I'm slide control.
Okay, awesome. So this question asks, what role does the media play in portraying the values and virtues of the Black community? The purpose of mainstream media is to uphold the ideologies and structures of Western thought, colonization, imperialism, world domination, and power. The media's role in shaping perceptions of the Black community is multifaceted, especially from the perspective of a Black feminist residing in a divested from community of Detroit. Historically, the media has often emphasized our resilience and determination, which are undeniably crucial aspects of our identity. However, it's essential to acknowledge our vulnerability and humanity. The portrayal of Black people as endlessly resilient can inadvertently overlook the nuanced experiences of trauma, pain that many of us confront. This portrayal might inadvertently suggest that we are expected to shoulder more burdens simply because we have demonstrated resilience in the past. Responsible Black media platforms, particularly those driven by Black feminists, endeavor to offer a more balanced narrative. They celebrate our strength while also acknowledging and addressing the trauma and challenges we endure. This approach honors our full humanity and underscores the need for support and healing within our community. It's essential to avoid a skewed view of our community, as it can lead to harmful misconceptions, such as the misguided belief that Black mothers and elders should go without necessities like water because of assumptions about their spending habits of buying sneakers and jewelry, or that Black men are inherently dangerous. This misperception highlights the importance of, highlights the importance of dispelling stereotypes and promoting a more holistic understanding of the Black experience through responsible and inclusive media representation. In an era of constant information bombardment, it's crucial to have the tools to navigate and interpret media we consume. Media literacy is the ability to critically analyze, evaluate, and understand the messages and information presented in different forms of media. It's about questioning what we see, hear, and read, and not taking things at face value. Media literacy equips us with the skills to separate fact from fiction and recognize biases or hidden agendas. It's not just about traditional media. Media literacy also includes understanding social media, viral videos, and memes. A few key skills. 1, evaluate the credibility of sources. 2, recognize persuasive techniques and propaganda. 3, understand how media can shape our opinions and beliefs. 4, identify stereotypes and representation in media. And 5, engage in critical thinking and analysis. So I'm going to go to the next question. How have you witnessed Black media platforms responsibly convey information while uplifting the community? I'm going to say this term again. As a Black woman from a divested from community in Detroit, I have to keep saying that. It's very important to say that. I've witnessed some independent Black platforms step up to the plate. They've shed light on issues like environmental justice, acknowledging that marginalized communities bear the brunt of pollution and water affordability challenges. These entities provide a platform for activists like myself to share our stories and advocate for change. They've celebrated the strength of Black women in our community, showcasing our leadership in the face of adversity. But we don't have enough. Number 3. So there's like 3 fear questions. So the way it's phrased is fear 1. What are some of the unforeseen challenges you have faced while working to empower Black media for the Black community. So I'm gonna take y'all back through the time machine. And I remember when when Radio One created a conglomerate and shut down Black radio, which eliminated the decentralized local culture in exchange for one identity controlled by one source. Also, just wanted to note that corporate entities with Black hosts are representation, not Black media. I got some suggestions for readings, but I'll put those. We'll send you some of those. But there's one from the New Yorker, When Americans Lost Faith in the News. That's really incredible. Talks about how the CIA controls our media, and that's I need to do a whole podcast series on that. And then want to give credit to Dr. Jared Ball, who's a inadvertent mentor by accident, probably unintentionally. Empowering Black media within our deeply divested from Detroit community has been a persistent struggle with an often overlooked critical dimension. As a Black media maker, I've witnessed a troubling pattern where we are consistently told there isn't enough support for nor interest in our perspectives, made to feel undervalued and denied the proper investment that our voices deserve. Simultaneously, we see white corporate entities and startups effortlessly securing full funding and being heralded as trustworthy sources. This stark contrast is deeply frustrating. Black media outlets often find themselves grappling with the challenge of securing the necessary resources, while those with significant funding often approach our community with a capitalist, pro-corporation agenda. This imbalance can lead to the co-optation of Black voices to advance corporate interests, leaving our genuine narratives and media outlets marginalized. Navigating this complex landscape demands constant advocacy for our value and commitment to ensuring that our community's authentic voices are amplified. We must actively direct the resources and investments we deserve toward our platforms, preserving our dignity and autonomy. It's crucial to acknowledge that Black people are entrenched in systems of oppression, exploitation, and indoctrination. This includes the erosion of critical thinking and menticide that can perpetuate harmful stereotypes. People often consume media in fragmented ways, watching clips taken out of context, which can further distort our perceptions. Our community faces an insidious campaign from culturecide to genocide, and the media plays a significant role in shaping our self-identity. Unfortunately, sensationalism, particularly when it comes to Black suffering and death, tends to draw attention and sell. Algorithms often reward channels that perpetuate hatred towards Black women. We should remember stances like Mark Lamont Hill being removed from his platform for advocating for Palestine, which highlights the importance of having our own independent media spaces. Despite these challenges, we remain committed to addressing them, advocating for our dignity, and ensuring that our narratives authentically represent our community's experiences. There's just 2 more questions, y'all. Fear question number 2. How did you deal with these challenges? Addressing these challenges has demanded studying African history and politics, understanding the role of the state-sponsored messaging in serving as a war machine, and COINTELPRO in diminishing how African people have won rebellions and practicing a spirit of solidarity. Within our community, we forged alliances with organizations and activists who share our values, enabling us to pool resources and magnify our collective impact. We remained adaptable in the face of a rapidly evolving media landscape, embracing new technologies and ensuring that our message reaches our audience through various platforms. Throughout this journey, we've remained steadfast in our commitment to unbiased reporting and advocacy. We've recognized the significance of offering a unique perspective that authentically represents the experiences of Black people in our community. Our dedication to content curation, performance, and influence remains unwavering, allowing us to navigate these challenges while remaining true to our mission. It's also essential to underscore the importance of monitoring our social media consumption, or just our media consumption, being mindful of what we consume. Finally, fair question number 3. What have you learned and are learning from these challenges? Again, I want to lean on Dr. Jared Ball, who, if y'all ever look at Black Power Media, he does a lot on media literacy. And education, addressing police terrorism and community-led safety, food sovereignty, fostering collective economic development, and more. There is still much work ahead, especially in areas such as Black sovereignty, understanding Black indigeneity, LGBTQIA plus rights, anti-capitalism, feminism, tackling sexual assault, misconduct, and abuse, addressing migration and immigration issues which often overlook Black experiences, delving into Black histories, championing for disability justice, advocating for abolition, and pushing for environmental and climate justice. We must vehemently reject ageism, the demonization of Black girls and women, the vilification of Black men and boys, the over-sexualization of children, while adopting abolitionist values and intensifying our efforts in political education and respecting the perspectives of both youth and elders. Embracing intergenerational exchanges and dismantling notions of exceptionalism, that's respectability politics, are vital steps forward. Recognizing that everyone absorbs information differently, we must strive to adjust our methods to reach everyone, considering factors like readability, accessibility, attention span, and interest. Additionally, we should remember the importance of avoiding overexposure to trauma, promoting fact-checking, considering opposing views for a better understanding, and embracing digital detox before sleep and spiritual work. The landscape of Black media is vast, diverse, and evolving, from podcasts like Joe Budden to commentators like DJ Academics and thought leaders like Kimberly Nicole Foster, Karen Hunter, FD Signifier, Conscious Lee, Joy Reid, and Amanda Seals. There's so many I could name. We have a plethora of voices to draw from. We have to be careful and understand the benefits and nefariousness of a multitude of platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, Mastodon, Patreon, as well as options in the metaverse and the dark web. They exist, so I'm mentioning them, but I don't necessarily support them all. Creating our own websites, offline zines, books, reading groups, billboards, tribunals, mixtapes, podcasts, newsletters, text groups, music videos, and more can further amplify our messages. Our ultimate goal should be to cultivate a radical analysis that propels us toward Black liberation. We need our propaganda that advocates for ideological transformation, regardless of the financial resources at our disposal. If we don't embrace a different ideology and worldview, the change we seek will remain elusive. It's crucial to establish alternative hierarchies and social relationships grounded in authenticity. Reflecting on the history of online platforms from AOL and AIM to chat rooms, we must consider the transformations they've undergone. The rise and fall of platforms like Black Planet underscores the need for us to maintain control over our narratives and spaces. We need to break free from the misconception that the white man's ice is colder and that their media is truer. Our language is a powerful tool for shaping narratives and fostering collective consciousness. Promoting healthy public debates and diversifying the ways we share messages, including different languages, video, auditory content, words, written words, poetry, films, plays, galleries, museums, concerts, interactive design, apps, technology, music, even prayer and sacred technologies can broaden our reach and influence. And finally, Dr. Jared Ball recently quoted Glenn Ford, Rise and Power, a Black Agenda report, that our goal is not to reach the masses. Our goal is to encourage, through more media analysis, more organization among those who claim they are already in agreement. Embracing these strategies will allow us to wield the immense power of media in our pursuit of justice, dignity, and Black liberation. We must do this using an African-centered, decolonized, and anti-imperialist ecological approach where we challenge Western ideas of race, class, and power.
My Piper. Love it. Thank you so much, Piper. As I definitely want to say, the one thing that was advertised.
It's the last slide. Go to the last slide.
The last slide.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did go to the last slide.
There you go.
Yeah, we're there. The last slide is there, but I was going to say that in this is year 3. We're growing more. I was interacting with the deck. Piper had me more on my media, and I love it. And with that, someone that we definitely share in Black artistry. And we're going to talk about more topics and more things. Please give us feedback as I'm still seeing the stream and the comments as we put this together. This is a production studio we bring to Mama Akua House every time we do this. And I'm going to continue to connect with not just Yusef now, but we're extending the family as it's more topics. It was a lot of people that came out, and right now they're enjoying some of the soup, or I think something Dr. Jesse Brown did. So something healthy, is definitely connecting. That's Baba Victor in the back. I hear it already. And but Halima's healing up. We will definitely be talking about Black artistry. It's a lot going on when it comes to Black artistry and expression that do connect to culture. Remember, Detroit is different. Culture, creativity, community. We're definitely pushing that, and empowerment. That's the premise and the background of what we do. So with that, we got to, the goal was to get to 3. Got y'all to 2:30. So I think that or 2 hours, 30 minutes. I think that was a solid presentation. I know it's a lot of questions and exchange that I put into the post. We're here at Mama Akua House. Right. So get more of this and connect. We're going to build, connect, do more work together. Thank you so much for tuning in to this. Peace be. Back, plan in effect that we fight to the death. Got my black fist stuck, got my black fist stuck. We already got them. Quarter when they watch it. Thinking we ain't real, yo, the whole team shot them. Got my black fist stuck, got my black fist stuck.